Woo! Welcome to the Low Blow Podcast. I thank you for tuning in to our first pilot episode. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sounds of my disembodied voice. Unfortunately, since this is the pilot episode, I'm the only one around here. I guess I could make up characters for this, but let's assume that I have no guests. Just humor me on this. So here's what we're going to do. Normally, I would introduce everybody, or everybody would introduce themselves, whichever comes first, or is more natural. So, let's start with that. Hi, my name is Andrew Paul. I don't really have a YouTube channel for showing off my voice, but you can find me in other projects that we've got from Lowbro Productions, as well as a few series that I have worked on, such as Sonic the Hedgehog and Minecraft. But hey, that's okay. I'm sure someday I'll become an awesome voice actor, just like the greats. But, you know, that comes with time and patience. And hard work, I suppose. But enough about me. Let's talk about me some more. Next, we do a little catch-up with the people, assuming that they're reoccurring guests, or I have more than one co-host that shows up more often than not. So it's like, oh hey, so how have you been lately? What you been up to? And then they talk about any new projects that they're currently working on, or things that they've recently done, or what they've been doing with life, things like that. For example, currently I'm at school and trying to succeed, and I also go to karaoke nights every Thursday. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes I go on Fridays, if I'm in a singing mood, which is fine. I love singing. I don't know why. I guess I just have this dream where one day I will sing a song in public, and not only will people just accept me, they will join me, and it will be one giant musical number. If I can make a whole musical out of my life, holy that'd be amazing. But of course, I'd have to be the one to control it, and I would limit, depending on what I'm in the mood for. Or maybe it'll make me feel better. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. I don't have magic powers, you know. Other than that, I auditioned for a few roles. Hopefully I get something. Next up, our sponsors and upcoming projects. So this is about the point where we announce any new projects straight from Lowbro Productions itself. It could have something to do with a secret project that may or may not come out on Halloween, but shh! It's secret for now. Assuming that you hear this immediately, which you probably won't. You might never even hear this recording, but shh. But let's assume what other projects we got going on. We got a My Hero Academia Abridged series coming up, where we will be fan dubbing. Isn't that awesome? I don't know exactly what I'll be voicing. I've never really watched the show. It's not really my thing. But even I know Froppy is best waifu. That's just a law, it's a fact, it's a promise, and you cannot... We also have a few other ideas up our sleeve. One thing we like to do every Sunday, or at least try to every Sunday, is we have a D&D night. So, Sauce usually hosts, although we might have other DMs once in a while, or GMs, depending on who you ask, and that's gonna be fun. I usually play Bank the Bard, a half-elf often confused by a halfling, for some inexplicable reason, who recently chopped his arm off. Well, a wolf chopped it off. It's a long story, I don't want to bore you with the details, and this voice is starting to get annoying. But who knows? Maybe I'll die in the next episode, and then we'll pull off that, will happen, where maybe I'll sing 8 melodies, and it'll be really sad, and Sauce will be so angry with me, all because I have a special connection with Bink. He was my first character in D&D, and I've had him for 3 years, and she really, really, really wants him dead. It's kind of funny, and it fits with his character, seeing as he is unbelievably lucky, and is terrible with women, like Brock or Johnny Bravo or Danny Sexton. But I feel like it's inevitable. And who knows? I've got a few ideas for Halloween coming up, so maybe I'll DM once in a while. Who knows? We also got a new member in the group. The leader of the bunch's wife. She's a sweetheart. But yeah, that's all the upcoming stuff we've got right now. So let's talk about news. Usually in the animation, voice acting, voiceover, or general acting work. I don't usually like to do gossip news. I'd rather talk about less controversial stuff. Well, maybe not controversial stuff, but I talk about new stuff, you know? Or maybe not new stuff, but I'll say, for example, we'll talk about Adventure Time just finishing and how everybody feels about that. I cried when BMO started singing, and every time I sing Time Adventure, I can't help but cry. It's a powerful song. Hits me right in the feels. We got a new She-Ra cartoon coming up, and her designs look cute. I'd watch it. Wasn't a fan of the original He-Man. I grew up with the 2000s version, and even then, I didn't watch it all the time. Action shows were never really my bread and butter at the time. Of course, I was a young fool, because I missed out on awesome shows like Samurai Jack and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sometimes I want to slap my past self in the head. But, you know, this stuff happens. The Japanese voice actor for Professor Oak, among other famous anime characters, has died of larynx cancer. It's a shame, as even I recognized his voice. He was a legend. He was a legend in the voice acting community, as well as the anime community. He will be missed, and I'm sorry for his family's loss and the tragedy they had to suffer. And that'll usually cover up the news of what's going down. So then, what either happens is now we either play a game, or we talk about, or we put a specific topic. It could be about a specific anime, cartoon, video game, anything involving voice acting, really. Or we play a game! I have myself a dice set, and depending on what topics we've got, and these could change at any point in time, we can determine what game we want to play, if we want to play a game at all. So, for example, I've got me an 8-sided die. Or no, I've got a die. Let's do a 6. Let's take a 6, just to be fair. All right, on a scale of 1 to 6. We can either play a game, or we can go into a topic, of which I also have a die for the topic. So, I'm going to roll a dice, and it's a 3, which means it's game time. So, what game are we playing today? I'm glad you asked. 3 again. You know what that means? Of course you don't. In this case, we'd play Cards Against Voice Actors, assuming that there's more than three disembodied voices. We'd play Cards Against Humanity, but we gotta voice different characters. That's one example, at least. Another game we've got is Chapter Excerpt. This is where we read a chapter off a book that we either get online, or we find an excerpt from our local library, and we just read the chapter. The only difference is we gotta voice the dialogue. So, if there's a character, we each have to agree who voices what, and we have to keep it consistent, or at least try to. So, we could be reading Alice in Wonderland, for example, and we can have Alice, played by Aki, for example, doing the voice of oh my god, doing the voice of Sorrow for Alice, and then I would have to be the Mad Hatter, and I would have to do the voice of Mario or something, or who knows, maybe we could try to do our best to match the voice of the character if we tried hard enough. This could also apply for scripts for plays and such. We have another segment called Bedtime Story Adaptation, where each character has to voice a story. The only twist is that you have to play a character beforehand, but it's not the character playing the voice of characters in the book. You're playing a character doing their take on the story. If we read like a famous bedtime story, one that everybody knows, the voice actor has to do their interpretation of the story based off how the character that they're portraying would reenact it. So say I'm Samuel L. Jackson, for example, and I have to read the bedtime story of Hansel and Gretel. I'd have to be like, alright, here's the deal. Once upon a time, there was a brother and sister named Hansel and Gretel. They were the two broke that ever existed. There was such that they had to rely on breadcrumbs to get themselves out of a maze. Can you believe that? What idiots gotta do that And then some ugly ass ugly ass witch comes in, and so on and so forth. Stuff like that. Then we go into Voice Actor Spotlight, where I'd like to talk about a specific voice actor every episode. I'd explain who they are, what they've done, and then we each go around explaining what our favorite character is that they played and how much of an influence they had on you as a voice actor, if they even had an influence. Or maybe you can react to, wait, she said that? Or he did that voice? What? Things like that. This could be from the Western world and the Eastern world. Just the veterans that have been in this game for years and years, showing off their awesome talent, and just paying tribute to them. I feel like that's a fair thing to do. Then, if we're popular enough, we go into questions. Now, I may write some early on, so that we can, get things started, break some ice. We each answer questions, give our opinions of stuff, and, stuff. It could be something like advice, or favorite anime, would you rather, things like that. I'll try to avoid the controversial questions or political questions because I want to keep it E for everyone, or at least rated E10+, because we're going to probably talk about waifus and booties and all that, but I do want to keep it somewhat clean. Not so clean that we can't impersonate Samuel L. Jackson without cursing, God forbid, but something that won't create controversy, at the very least. So, television. Like, Comedy Central. Yeah, they get away with a lot of shit. Maybe something more like Samurai Jack from Adult Swim. Or, I guess, animes. Things like that. So, I guess a good question is, if you could voice act alongside any voice actor or group of voice actors, who would they be and why? For me, personally, I have a few that I would love to voice act with. I would want Rob Paulsen, John DiMaggio, Jim Cummings, Tara Strong, and Tabitha St. Germain. And just, do something where we all play off each other. Even if it's just like a 30-minute episode of a show, I would love to do that. It may not happen, but you never know, right? If Rena Chan can do it, so can we. And then, at this point, I remind everybody about the upcoming projects that Lowbro Productions got, and then we all do an outro. I don't know how we'll close it. I'm sure we'll think of something. Then we say our goodbyes. I guess we end on a joke or something. And that's it. So, good night, everybody.